The Philadelphia Eagles fell short of the mark in Tampa Bay in a 27-21 loss, but the main talking point is that Ryan Fitzpatrick has now thrown for 4 touchdowns and over 400 yards in back-to-back games. Not only that, but he's done it against 2 teams that could well be fighting for an NFC championship by the season's end. He's also done it against 2 teams that play very contrasting styles of defense, especially on the outside. The Saints play heavy amounts of press coverage while the Eagles station their cornerbacks in off coverage to play a bend but don't break mentality. So just how could Ryan Fitzpatrick carve up both the Eagles and the Saints defense? And is there an Achilles heel in this Jim Schwartz defense that is only now being exploited in its 3rd year of implementation? My name is Liam Jenkins and this is an episode of Eagles Film Room you don't want to miss. If we get 500 likes on this video, we'll have another episode coming out by Thursday afternoon. Coming into this game, the Bucs knew that Ryan Fitzpatrick would face a hefty amount of pressure, unlike what he saw in Week 1, and according to Michael Kist of Bleeding Green Nation, the Eagles ranked 6th in applying pressure in Week 2, but Fitzpatrick found a cheat code, with 66% of his throws being released under 2.5 seconds, and 71% of his throws being released within the final hitch of his step back. So, to combat the Eagles' pass rush, the Bucs simply employed something what I call comeback season. Ryan Fitzpatrick knows where his wide receivers are going to be due to the rhythmic nature of running these routes, and with a 7 to 10 yard cushion depending on which cornerback you're lining up against, you're either given a very physical Mike Evans or a speedster in Deshaun Jackson a chance to get up close to the face of the cornerback, force him to adjust and move his hips and close him in the other direction, and then just flip your body the other way, and before you know it, you've got tons of separation. Just like this route against Jalen Mills here, who's keeping his eyes on the quarterback, he's doing everything right, but all we're going to see is Bucs receivers going time after time after time after time up to the face of the cornerback, shifting one way and quickly moving their body in the other direction just to create a window big enough for the quarterback to securely throw the ball. It was a game of simplicity for Ryan Fitzpatrick, and on this play here where Deshaun Jackson completely burns Jalen Mills, it's all a Malcolm Jenkins who comes down and then leaves Deshaun Jackson one-on-one with Mills and creates a massive window for Fitzpatrick to float in a dime, and from that moment on there is nobody catching Jackson. They know Jalen Mills is not an incredible athlete, he's not the fastest corner, and in fact he gave up 8 receptions of 8 targets for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. There's just simply too much optionality coming out of this Bucs offense to do anything about when you're not disrupting it. Because the Eagles don't press at the line of scrimmage or do anything to disrupt the timing of those routes, this rhythmic offense just has the potential to wreak absolute havoc because the corners are always playing at a disadvantage. We'll see a perfect example of this here, but also another example as to why Ryan Fitzpatrick is being so magical. He's a 14-year veteran, and if there's anyone that can run this kind of offense, it's him, because he knows how to manipulate a defense with his eyes. Watch Nigel Bradham here, number 53, and the way Ryan Fitzpatrick scans through his reads. He knows he's got pressure coming, scans to his right, the minute Bradham moves, throws that ball behind his back shoulder. There's no way the linebacker's even in a remote position to make a play on that ball, and it's a huge gain for the Bucs offense. If you're an Eagles cornerback, there's just not much you can do other than play the ball and make sure you're positioned to make a play on the route. And even here, 2 pockets of space open up for Ryan Fitzpatrick. A quarterback of his experience isn't going to miss those throws. This lead should have been much more. Another comeback here by Mike Evans shows a body positioning difference between himself and Ronald Darby, but he coughs up the football. He also gave up an interception, which we'll get to, and then unfortunately had a huge drop as well. If not for those 3 errors, this game should have and could have been out of reach. We'll see it here. Again, another comeback. Look at the space that Mike Evans has. The separation on the corner, and somehow that one falls through his hands. But there is only so much the Eagles safeties and cornerbacks can do. They're backpedaling, they're keeping the plays in front of them, and the safeties here are going to zone into the play in the middle. If they look outside, you've got Deshaun Jackson signaling that he's deep and he's burnt his cornerback. If they look over the middle, they have to zone in and stop that completion, and if they go the other side, outside, you open up the middle. No matter what way you look, you're giving up some kind of leverage, and you're trusting cornerbacks who aren't the quickest in the world, they're not the most physical, to make those plays. The Bucs knew this would work though. On second down, according to Michael Kiss, they converted 10 of 16 passing attempts for first downs, and with optionality like this, it's hard to really dispute why. A levels concept here, you've got two comebacks on the outside which have already worked, you've got OJ Howard over the top, a running back in the middle of the field. There's just not a lot you can do. Even in the red zone, they're just finding pockets of space everywhere because the Eagles are either going too cautious, too conservative, they're not being aggressive, and you can't blitz that much. If you're gonna get pressure off, Fitzpatrick's getting that ball out within 2.2 seconds, and there he's just got an open throwing lane into the back of the end zone. The way that the Bucs have been able to schematically work out the mathematics, like look at this play right here. You've manned up linebackers to receivers and cornerbacks. You've got one man free watching the flat and an acre of space outside. There's only one way that's going to go. That play design was perfect, and it's a nice chunk pickup for the Bucs. This is the problem with the Eagles defense. We'll see another example here. That vertical route is designed just to take Jalen Mills out of the equation, make it one-on-one for Rodney McLeod, who again is having to accelerate downhill by the time the receivers already made the reception. This 4-3 defense is very much like a membrane. As the pass rush comes down, the linebackers and corners drop back, and what you're left with is acres of space in the middle and the intermediate section of the field. A levels concept here, designed to just have the receivers run across the face of the cornerback, creates a window of opportunity, and look at how it pans out. There is not a single receiving option on that field that wouldn't be a viable target, and this ball of course goes all the way to the back end of the field, and it's a touchdown for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, this Eagles defense is limited because you've got so many receiving options who are just going to eat up that amount of space for breakfast. The membrane breathes back, Fitzpatrick slots the ball over the middle. We saw this in 2016, and the Eagles improved on the back end. Let's not forget that in 2016, the Eagles gave up the most deep passing yards of any team in the NFL because their cornerbacks were getting burnt at the line of scrimmage. So Jim Schwartz adjusted in 2017. He brought his corners further away from the line of scrimmage, giving his pass rush time to eat without the need to blitz all the time, which again is brilliant in theory, but it does create this membrane in the middle of the field, and it just means that on play action looks, if your pass rush can't get in as they did there, you're gonna have problems. This Eagles team struggled to contain the Bucs offense, and if you brought them closer to the line of scrimmage, you're risking someone like Jalen Mills in press coverage against Deshaun Jackson. He's already been picked apart this season. It was only going to continue. So what is the solution? I've criticised it enough. We've realised that the Eagles have a problem. They tried switching to 3 safeties according to Michael Kist at the end of the first half. That didn't work. In fact, the Bucs had 61% success in their passing game as opposed to 23% on the run. So we know that Fitzpatrick is eating up those passing yards. So what can the Eagles do? What options do they have? Simply, I think they need to try and adapt something a little similar to what Pete Carroll used to run in Seattle. You don't have to strictly have 3 corners in press coverage, or 2 in off coverage, or 3 safeties on the field at the back. You have got such versatile personnel to mix it up. You've got someone like Nate Jerry who could drop into the slot and body up against OJ Howard. You've got someone such as Sidney Jones who can maybe move outside and catch Mike Evans off guard, just to provide that punch at the line of scrimmage and stop that comeback from being as dominant as it is, because it's a step off in timing for Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's a difficult situation to be in, but the Eagles need more flexibility. They're being too rigid on the back end, they're refusing to come down from off coverage, and if you give receivers as elusive, as fast and as physical as those on the Bucs offense, you are going to be eaten up every single time. If any of you football minds have got any theories as to how the Eagles can fix this problem, or is it simply just a case of being more flexible, I would love to find out. Let me know in the comments. Again, 500 likes in this video, guys. Let's absolutely smash it. Daily Eagles content at phillysportsnetwork.com. You guys are absolute rages. Let's get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. From myself, Liam Jenkins, I'll see you next time.